Dun 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 dun. Hey Star Wars fans, it's your old friend Dominic Tringali here again with another one of my Star Wars Build the Millennium Falcon model kit issues, issue number 18. We have this nice army green color, and this photo of the Millennium Falcon as always. I think they've used this photo before. I have to double check to tell you if that's correct. Anyway, down below we see that with $10.99, this issue brings us up to a grand total of €190 and 33 cents, almost up to 200. Yeah, like I said, this thing's going to come in at about €1,100 when I'm all done, not counting glue and paints and whatnot. So all said and done, I'll probably have spent closer to 12. Or at least $11.50, not sure. But yeah, it's kind of like the price of an Apple laptop computer. So there's that. Let's just dive right into this issue and see what we got. Okay, so table of contents. So this first article is the Tantive 4 interior layout. Okay, as you probably know if you're a Star Wars fan, Tantive 4 was Leia's ship that was overtaken by Darth Vader's Death Star in the first movie, Episode 4. So let's take a look at some of these figures here. So we have a diplomatic staff of 39, crew of 46, variable passengers, princess suites, princess's secret chambers. Ooh, what goes down in the secret chambers? Only Leia knows. Stateroom suite, formal state conference chamber, formal dining room, meeting room, captain's quarters, officers' quarters, crew quarters, engineers' quarters, officers' common rooms, passenger quarters, lounges, a library. You want to get your read on when you're deep in space, I guess. A sick bay. 2 armed 12-seater escape pods and 8 unarmed 3-seaters. There's that. I guess this is also the Corellian Corvette that Bail Organa uses in the third Episode 3 prequel film. So, the thing is they call this an interior layout, but there's no real interior drawings. It's just kind of a description of everything that goes on. You have this picture of Princess Leia. Bow chicka wow wow. I never found her hot. I did not. I mean, supposedly she was a sex symbol, or a lot of people had some sort of weird fantasy about Princess Leia when back in the 70s and 80s. I didn't get it. She never did it for me. And they talk about the escape pods, and a lot of people are critical of why would you not shoot at escape pods being jettisoned, but they said there was no life signs, and supposedly droids can't get into escape pods. They actually are. The escape pods are programmed to not fire if droids are inside. I guess they value living life over droids. But R2-D2 being the badass he is, he deactivated the countermeasure that prevented that from happening. So there's that 4-deck layout. And if you don't know this, I think I've mentioned this before, but the Tantive 4 ship was actually originally supposed to be the Millennium Falcon. They originally called it in the sketches it's called it Pirate Ship. It didn't even have a name at that point. But at the last minute, no, I guess not the last minute, but close to actual production, George Lucas decided to scrap that and get a different ship, and they used this as Leia's ship. They just they reused some of the sets and just changed the ship around a little bit to look bigger. So there was that. The Tantive 4 is definitely bigger. We know that from another issue. I think it's 3.5 times the length of the Millennium Falcon. And actually, when they were recycling the model, these were actually cups that they just glued onto the end. Originally, Han Solo's ship was going to be this long shape, and it had like this kind of, didn't have this hammerhead shape to it. They put the cups on later to just kind of give the ship more of a mid-range look to it. I think the movie would have not done as well if this would have been Han Solo's ship. If this like would have been the Millennium Falcon, I mean, it just wouldn't have been as cool, in my opinion. Just wouldn't have been. So there's all this stuff about Tantive 4. And then we have this Guide to the Galaxy section, as always. And this one is on the sectors of the galaxy. And they talk about sector division and how everything gets broken up, how the Empire essentially governed all these different bodies, all these stellar bodies. They talk about, in this little side column, they talk about how, like, over the years, there's been all these video games and books and whatnot, and there's never really been a cohesive, like, correct map. Things always change from one map to the next, which, I mean, I think that makes sense. Like, maps have always notoriously, throughout history, been something that really can't be trusted. Like, I read recently an article that was talking about how even the map we have of the Earth today, even with satellite imagery, we use this map that's not really true when it comes to scale, that like Africa is like actually way bigger than your typical map would show you to be true. And it's all based on like racism, overt racism, where we put like, we make continents that we think are more important, bigger. Like Europe is actually really small, but it looks bigger on a map despite its small stature. You know, stuff like that. And yeah, so lots of stuff about the different sectors, Hutt space, Imperial governing sector armies, you know, just huge governing bodies. And then we have this cool article, Secrets of Spaceflight. We stopped talking about like how to land a ship, and instead we're talking about the Falcon's upgrades. This picture right here, let me try to zoom in here, pull in and pull focus on it. So this was actually a matte drawing of Luke's X-Wing and the Millennium Falcon that was supposed to be like in the desert, parked outside Jabba's palace in the Return of the Jedi. But they actually ended up having to scrap that scene because apparently like it was feasibly impossible to move the Millennium Falcon set. So that's actually all a matte painting, and it's a kind of a cutting room floor piece of footage that just never really got used. I mean, we kind of just generally accept that somewhere on Tatooine is the Millennium Falcon and Luke's X-Wing after they do that daring rescue of Han Solo outside the pit of Carkoon, the Sarlacc. Which I hope they do like an article about that at some point, the Sarlacc. I mean, I always found that to be something that you could do a write-up about. I'd like to know a little bit more about the Sarlacc. But then this is the highlight of the issue, I think. This is another cutaway map of the interior of the Millennium Falcon, and it shows like all the upgrades, just like from one of the previous issues where everything was kind of grayed out. That was unique to the Millennium Falcon. Like we have concussion missiles, and we have the Rectenna, and we have the stateroom, the main hold, and the upgraded hyperdrive. They kind of just really show how it all gets laid out. Really cool. This is, I mean, I would love to have this individual image framed, but it wouldn't really. I'd have to like frame this issue and on this page, and I'd have this like, ugly crease in the middle, so I don't think that really works. So yeah, that's like I said, that's kind of the highlight of this issue. And then we just jump right into this green section, which, as you all know from this point on, is the building instructions. So let's go ahead and open up our pack number 18 and see what's inside. So like always, we go from biggest to smallest. So we have this clear plastic piece, which I looked through the instructions, and apparently this is a construction jig. It's going to be used to actually keep the Millennium Falcon's frame together. There we go. Got kind of bent a little bit. So this is going to actually keep the frame together, something for me to mount on. There are 4 pieces that I'll be getting over the next few issues that are all connected together, and I assume I'll be getting even more to build up the jig all together. So there's that. So I'll put that to the side because I won't even need that today. Then I have another piece of frame to go with the piece of frame I got in the last issue. and one of these again. Actually, there's two of them in here. So this is actually going to be a really quick issue as far as construction goes. So let's go ahead and pull out this framework and see where we are. So here's the framework that I have done so far, these 10 pieces, and I have this 11th and 12th piece. This is from the previous issue, and this is from the issue I got today. They're all going to go along the ribbing, the struts, as I've called them a couple of times, and we're just going to add in a couple of these two-piece adapters right here that I got. I got one in this issue and one in the issue before, so it looks like I'll be just putting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into that, and I'll show you how each step looks along the way. So as you can see, I took this piece, framing piece number 20, and I just attached the black screw here and here to these flanges on the ribbing, and it looks like that, and I'll be putting a two-piece bracket right here. But the next step is just to attach this piece right here before I do that. So steps 5 and 6 had me put this two-piece adapter right here, two-hole adapter, and then step 7 is going to have me take the framing and stick it right there. So I'll go ahead and do that and show you what it looks like when I'm all done. Alright, great. So steps 7 and 8 had me put this piece in place and then actually attach it with this to the flange on the radial rib here. So steps 9 has me put another one of these two-piece adapters right here. So I'll go ahead and do that and show you what it looks like when I'm all finished. So like I said, step 9 had me put it right here, and let me zoom out and pull focus. So that's what it looks like now. I have 12 pieces of frame for the lower hull all put together. Kind of looks like a Klingon bat'leth. So as you can see, it keeps this bowed shape. That's why we need to keep this safe for the meantime, because eventually we're going to have this sitting on the jig to keep it from flexing at all. But it has to keep this shape, so I don't want to put any undue pressure on it because it'll just bend. So, but I will test fit the framing pieces on, so you can start seeing, or the actual hole pieces, so I can take a look at what it looks like so far with the pieces that I've gotten up into this point. So as you can see, all the hole pieces are just floating on top of the framing right now. I haven't attached any of them yet because the instructions are very adamant about the fact that we need to pull the frame together before we actually put the framing on. But it does give us a map with every issue of where all the framing goes. So after 18 issues, this is what I have accomplished. And it's really coming together, and it's looking like this thing is going to be monstrous. I mean, I know I've seen the blueprints which show like one for one how big it's going to be, but like until you actually see it, you really don't believe how big this thing's going to be. But you can, just looking at the curvature, you can really start realizing how big this thing's going to be. And then you start thinking about where the hell am I going to keep this thing. So we tackle one problem at a time here in this family. So that's all the construction I can do for today. Oh, actually, no, that's wrong. I still have the corridor pieces. But you know what? I'm going to hold back, and I'm going to do those next issue because just having them floating around is just another thing for me to hold on to. I'd rather just have somewhere for them to go. So this issue was just about adding those two pieces of framing on and showing you where I am at so far. So that's pretty much it. Okay, great. Alright, so that was everything for issue number 18. Join me for issue number 19 as I actually finally assemble from this issue those ring pieces for the corridor. I'll be getting a third one, so I'll have 3 of them to assemble. You know how much I love assembling those. We'll also have these exterior detail pieces that will be eventually affixed to the outer hull of the Millennium Falcon. And I'll be getting a piece of the corridor. It looks like the actual ramp. I'll start assembling. Or actually that might be going, it might actually be going into the cockpit. I'm not sure about that. But I will be getting this lower recessed hull detail. So there's that. Yeah, so question of the day. what is your favorite planet in the Star Wars universe? My personal is Dagobah, the planet that Yoda ran off to and became a hermit and kind of lost his mind. A lot of cool, interesting details about that. Probably number 2 would be Kashyyyk, the homeworld of the Wookiees. So anyway, man, I'll see you for issue number 19. Please make sure to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that like button and make sure to leave the comment down below for the question of the week. And I'll see you guys soon.